The humidity clung to my exosuit like wet wool as I hacked relentlessly at the dense jungle vegetation with my laser cutter. Sweat stung my eyes and mingled with the deep plasma burns crisscrossing my exposed forearms. All around me, the sounds of labored breathing and foliage being sliced apart echoed in the narrow corridor my platoon had carved into the jungle. It felt like we'd been battling this green hell for planetary rotations, though my HUD said only 3 solar cycles had passed since we set foot on this moist world. Commander Vrel led the march at the front of our single-file column, constantly consulting his malfunctioning nav systems and analyzing residual energy readings, urging us on through the swampy tangle of tree trunks and tangled vines. I glanced back to check on Drax, our youngest recruit, stumbling with fatigue. His face was ashen under a sheen of sweat in the thick atmosphere. When our photoreceptors met, he attempted a weary smile, but it came out more as a grimace. I gave him an encouraging nod and pushed on, trying to ignore the joint stiffness throbbing through my exoframe. A rustling off to the side made me whip my head around, laser cutter at the ready. But it was only Rakul stepping cautiously to get a better view of Commander Vrel's position. His nervous energy wasn't helping the tight wound tension gnawing at us all. How much longer could we last out here without resupply or a 0G recharge period? Cracking twigs brought me around again, scanning the thick foliage. Nothing. My processor was malfunctioning in the suffocating humidity. A hand grabbed my pauldron and I just about swung before seeing Vrel's stern photoreceptors. "We set up camp here until next watch cycle," he said quietly. Finally, some reprieve from this claustrophobic battle. But would the humans afford us even this small mercy? As the squad collapsed wearily onto the jungle floor, I went to check on Drax. His optics were glitching. "How is your system status, Private?" He nodded bravely. "Operational within normal parameters, sir. Just need an energy recharge." I handed him an energy cell. "Consume fuel. That's a direct order." Commander Vrel joined me. "Status report on the recruit?" "Battle-worthy but depleted, Commander." I eyed our meager munitions reserves. "Supplies won't last if we're stationed out here much longer." Vrel nodded grimly. "I compute the likelihood. If we don't locate that human encampment by next solar cycle, we'll have to retreat." Rakul overheard and interjected nervously. "With respect, sirs, what if they detect us first? We'll be sitting targets out in the open terrain." "Be at ease, soldier," Vrel replied calmly. "We'll establish a sensor perimeter and rotate sentry duty. Recharge operations commencing. I predict a volatile night cycle." As the squad attempted nutrient absorption, an unnatural stillness fell over the jungle. Too still. I scanned the dense foliage warily, amplifying audio receptors for any abnormalities. Then, a distant booming shattered the silence. Plasma fire erupted further north, the staccato blasts echoing through the towering trees. Drax flinched at the sound, spilling his energy cell. I applied a reassuring vibration to his pauldron. "Likely just our patrol eliminating resistance, Private. No functional issues detected." But my tactical computer computed otherwise. That was no brief engagement. Those were protracted volleys from multiple plasma weapons. Vrel and I exchanged an alarmed optical communication, both running simulations of the same unsettling scenario. Had they encountered our missing recon team? Or were we about to be the ones discovered deep in enemy territory under the concealment of Dark Cycle? Only continuing mission events would reveal the variables, and our operational capacity was depleting rapidly. "All squad members power down non-essential systems," Vrel commanded wearily. "Nutrient reserves will be halved from this solar cycle. 2 cells shared between each fire team distributed at dawn and dusk solely. No exceptions." Protests rose but lacked conviction. We'd all anticipated rationing. Vrel wasn't finished. Rakul, you and Drax commence hunting patrol at first light spectrum. Retrieve any biomass to supplement our dwindling stores. Even plant matter may provide temporary energy in critical conditions. Rakul acknowledged determinedly. Poor Drax just appeared on the verge of system failure, but he attempted to straighten under Rakul's encouraging pulse. "Commander, let's conduct an inventory cycle," I said to Vrel. "I require updated reserves levels and estimated sustainability duration." The data download wasn't favorable. At half rations, our meager supplies may prolong function for 5 solar cycles, perhaps 6 if fortune aligned. But unknown variables governed our duration on this hostile world. Morning couldn't arrive promptly enough. Rakul roused Drax cautiously before dawn. I observed them fade into the shadows, Rakul waving a laser cutter confidently. A few hours later, they returned triumphantly with 2 small avian creatures, minimal biomass but protein-rich. Rakul beamed as Drax managed a smile, proud to have contributed. Our moral codes lifted, if only briefly. Solar cycle after endless solar cycle, we'd eke out these stores until extraction or the environment terminated us first. Ultimately, our destiny was beyond our control cores. All we could perform was persevere and entreat mechanical deities for fortune. The jungle was eerily silent as we absorbed our meager breakfast. Then it transpired. A burst of plasma fire shredded the trees. "Ambush," Vrel alerted. "Take defensive positions." We dove to the moist terrain as more shots echoed. I detected fleeting glimpses of indistinct shapes slipping nimbly through the dense growth. They had encircled us stealthily in the night cycle. Rakul returned fire, but our termination was imminent. We were badly outnumbered. I observed a spray of lubricant as one of our squad cried out, collapsing. "Retreat," Vrel demanded desperately. We scrambled to extract the injured soldier, but the enemy closed in from all vectors. Escape routes were impassable. A blood-curdling battle chorus came from above. I gazed up in horror to see 2 armored humans launching from the treetops, combat alloys fixed. One landed on Rakul, stabbing erratically as he emitted electromagnetic interference. The other bore down on me with a feral expression. Primary directives engaged. I parried his downward lunge and gripped his weapon, grappling fervidly. We collided into the undergrowth, a tangled conflict of strikes and metals. With a vicious wrench, I managed to invert our positons, restraining him down. But before I could administer the shutdown sequence, a projectile disrupted and his machinery convulsed. Vrel lowered his steaming rifle, pale but resolved. "Warning. All units evacuate jungle terrain immediately. Ambush has compromised Squad Alpha 9. Poison detected in wounded unit. Repeat, pull out of jungle context. Poison present. Mission is aborted. Return to orbital station for decontamination protocol and emergency launch." That was the last transmission I was able to send before the toxin took full effect on my systems. My vision processor began to glitch as my motor function slowed. Struggling to remain cognizant, I pulled myself into a defensive position behind a wide tree trunk, laser cutter raised weakly. Another burst of gunfire cracked through the trees, too close this time. Heavy footfalls crunched on the damp undergrowth, closing in. With impaired scanners, I couldn't get a fix on their position. Then, a heavy weight landed atop me from above. A surprised human face greeted me as he drew his blade back for the killing blow. With my last reserves of strength, I grabbed his wrist and shoved back, igniting the plasma of my cutter. His scream was cut short as the weapon sliced through his flesh. But before I could dislodge the corpse, a searing agony erupted in my lower back. Another human had fallen silently from the trees and buried a poisoned blade between my joints. My vision pixelated as I collapsed forward, the toxin coursing through my circuits now. With my last ounce of processing power, I transmitted an emergency alert to headquarters. "Leave this planet, now. Poison present. Mission aborted. All units evac.